shine on the light. Welcome to chat night, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light. We all over the world, chat night Africa. We all over the world, chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light. Welcome to chat night, we bring you good vibe, we shine on the light. We all over the world, chat night Africa. We all over the world, chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night, the only place that we give you good vibes. Chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night, all over the world we are shining the light. Chat night Africa. Welcome to chat night.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of Family Matters on Chat Night Africa. My name is Divine Chamukong, and I'm anchoring this broadcast from Washington, D.C., metropolitan area. If you have never been in an abusive love relationship, it's hard to imagine what it feels like to be in one, and worse still, every day. Love and abuse, verbal or physical, are antithetical. It's like talking about light and darkness sharing the same space. Unfortunately, abusive relationships are reaching staggering proportions. So, why is that? Before anyone starts pointing fingers, let me be clear that this is not only an African problem. Ladies and gentlemen, I invited the firebrand, drop dead, gorgeous Dr. Imelda Ntinglet to answer my questions on family matters. Dr. Imelda Ntinglet, popularly known as Dr. Emelet. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Emelet. Dr. Emelet, thank you for accepting to take questions on family matters this week on Chat Night Africa.
Mr. Chamkon, thank you very much for inviting me on your show. I am here to share what I know about domestic violence. Thank you.
Unfortunately, this thing we call domestic violence leads to people dying, sometimes men also. So when we talk about domestic violence, we're not only talking about women. We have seen men who have been abused so terribly. So the show this evening is not only about violence on women in love relationships, and we're not restricting this to marriage relationships. We've seen girls whose pictures, nude pictures, get shared only because they no longer want to be in that relationship. We will be looking at all those perspectives on Family Matters this week. Dr. Ntinglet, you have lately been very vocal against gender-based violence. What provoked it?
Well, Mr. Chamkon, thank you again for asking such a question. My being vocal lately is because of an experience that a family member of mine, a niece of mine, as a matter of fact, experienced torture, domestic violence to its highest degree. First, I want to put a disclaimer out there that I'm not only talking about domestic violence on women. As of today, I will be addressing women, but we do know that, like you just mentioned, domestic violence is experienced by both women and men, maybe equally. Granted, statistics reveal that 1 out of every 4 women, according to my research, experience some sort of domestic violence, or what we do call intimate partner violence, while 1 out of 9 men do experience such torture or torments. So please, again, do not come after me that I'm talking only about women. We do understand that men do go through that. But going back to your question, Mr. Chamkon, I definitely will share with you that a niece of mine experienced tremendous amount of torture, violence, brutality by an individual who once loved her, I believe once, because if anybody at this time is inflicting any kind of pain on an individual that they once called a partner of theirs, or a partner with whom they were in intimate relationship, then of course at this time I don't think the love really persists. That's my thinking. But my niece went through or endured torture that, with her permission, she wanted me to go out and make this known just for her to get rescued. That's what prompted my vocality and broadcasting this, again, just to seek help for her. Considering that I am distant away from her, I'm hoping that the message goes across, and whoever is within that environment in Cameroon, that particular environment, Kribi called Miete. I think that's the locale where they are at. Somebody should be able to reach out to her. And her name is Clementine Ate, and the husband's name is Mustangando. And that's what prompted me to go out and talk about domestic violence. It's not something that I've experienced personally, but I do share the pain and can share the sentiments of others who go through this kind of embarrassing, barbaric torture from people that they once loved. And that's my rationale and or reason for coming out to speak about it audibly and laudably.
Dr. Tinglet, typically those who suffer domestic abuse, verbal or physical, prefer to be silent. And I'm talking about even lawyers sometimes, educated women like you, not illiterates. Why do you think it's necessary, therefore, to take your sister's story into the public space?
Well, like I mentioned again, from a disclaimer stance, I seek permission from her before I can go out. And the reason why I'm doing this is because she cried and wept that I'm not around to help her. Granted, in this particular situation, she had reached out when I was in Cameroon once. And at that time, as an elder sister, I did my best to mediate. And the perpetrator took the time to came and sit with the family, bringing his own entourage to come and plead that it will never happen. On that note, I felt this person is quite remorseful about what he's doing, and hopefully things will get better. 2 years ago, when that happened, I realized that even this particular instance that called for me to now go out audibly, my niece did not come up to me directly. I saw pictures and all graphic pictures out there in social media space, and she probably was afraid to bring it to me because when the husband came and pleaded, there was now a relationship that was established between the husband and I and the entire family in hopes that things will get better. So I'm coming out this time around because, again, she's permitted me. And not only that, even if there wasn't any permission, the kind of torture that she endured, it does not matter who it is. We need to step up and try to rescue that individual. And if rescuing that individual calls for us to go public with it, then so be it. If that's the only platform that we can make such individuals at least save one individual's life, then we have to do that. Otherwise, we'll be saved at some point. We'll realize that will be better safe than sorry if we take the message out like I'm doing. And that's my sole reason for carrying it out there at this time.
Dr. Tinglet, the question everybody asks when such things are made public is what entraps somebody in a violent love relationship? What is it? I mean, you are not chained to the bedpost, you are not chained to the sofa or dining table in the living room. Your sister's case, that can be extrapolated to lots of situations we hear about. So the question is, what entraps people? Let's talk about women first.
Generally, based on research, of course, I do research on matters like this. And I come to find out that some of the reasons that they come up with, to me, they're basically flimsy reasons. The first reason that I've come up with is that they are in love. Okay. Isn't that funny? It's so ironical that you are in love with someone and you are entrapped while seeing that individual torture you, torment you, belittle you, torture you emotionally, psychologically, and even physically, and you are still there. What kind of love is that? So I will start off on the love side of things. We all believe that the person, the other party that we consider our significant other, be it male or female, is the person that is supposed to protect us, be it woman or man, let alone in this case where it's a female. We all gravitate towards our men or our husbands or boyfriends because we felt that need to have that individual to protect us. And if you at some point realize that this person deviates from that particular trust you gave them to protect you, you wonder for yourself, what else can I do? Who else is out there that I can go to protect me for such kind of things that are happening? And then you wind up just decide staying there and saying to yourself, you start feeling that you start having that sense of worthlessness, because if you can trust someone and that individual takes their hands to touch you, you at that time it already breaks your bones if they are such, there is something of that nature, but it makes you feel like you are just not a person that exists, let alone in a case where that person does not only perform such physical abuses on you per se or inflict such pain, they go around to gaslight you, they make you feel like you are nobody, you are worthless, and things of that nature pretty much cause some of these victims to stay in that relationship. A second reason, not outside of the love, is the fact that you are hoping this person is going to change. Remember, nobody changes anyone. If that individual does not seek for help themselves and make a concerted effort and take a decision to help themselves, you being a female or a male, the wife or the husband, whoever is being tortured, you cannot change that individual. Hence, it is incumbent upon you who is getting into any such relationship to get to know that individual very well, to be able to vouch for the things that that person can do or not do. So, one thing that most of them do stay in the relationship is because they are hoping with prayers and all whatnot that this person might possibly change. The next reason that some of them do stay in this relationship is because of the comfort, the comfort zone that has been built for them. Let's say in a situation where the husband is the breadwinner and takes care of the entire family. Most women now who are so independent and dependent on these male entities or figures, they feel like, well, with these beatings, it's better I endure the beatings than step out of there and I will not have that level of comfort that I've gotten while married. Another reason is because of the children. Majority of the cases that I researched on, it's all over the web. Most of the women who stay in such battered household and endure such pains, it's because of the children. We all know very well that it's always good to have our children live and grow up in families where you have both the mother and the father. That is the wishful thinking. In this day and age, it's not happening that way. We are hopeful, we are prayerful that such things happen. That meaning the children grow up in such a good parental household. But it's not the case. We don't know what's happening in the world. Maybe people are becoming so educated and all whatnot, and they are not abiding by what the biblical expectations in a marital relationship and or even a domestic relationship. For that reason, most of these women decide to stay put, endure this pain that is inflicted upon them over and over. You're being pounded on morning, afternoon, evening. You're being abused emotionally, psychologically, physically. You are still there in the name of the children. I don't understand what you're trying to show to the children when the children see you going through this pain. I'm not sure what you think, whoever it is, believe that you are doing for the children, because again, that pain is going to live with them. It's going to resonate with them for the rest of their lives when they realize their mother or their father is enduring such pain. Most often, the weaker link in the relationship, being the mother, is the one who suffers the pain the most. But guess what? They try to do everything to stay there. That's another point. Now, another reason why they stay in this relationship, I actually went around and I asked my niece, why are you still there? Why is it that I knew about this whole torture just 2 years ago? Meanwhile, you guys have been quote unquote living together for about, let's say, 14 years and married about 6 years ago. Hence, in totality, 20 years, and you've been enduring such pain. And her scenario is just alarming, and it's surprising to me when she even indicated that landlords of over 8 different places that they rented sent them out of there because the landlords were afraid and did not want Mr. Ngando to kill somebody's child while living in their own residence. And I asked her, Clementine, why are you still there? Why did you have to sit there and endure this pain? Guys, you guys will be surprised to the most stupid question and or answer that she gave me. First, she said, well, we started off as lovers in essence, got married, had the first child, and guess what? The fact that they had that first child, it seems as if it's a shackle that is being tied on her leg and hung somewhere that she cannot move. Why? Because considering that she has a plan of having, let's say, 3, 4, 5 kids, she would prefer to have those children with one man. And that's what made her to stay in that relationship in an effort to have all her children with the same man. To me, that sounds relatively crazy. Granted, it's a good thing to have all your kids in a good household, in a home environment where the parents are pretty much showing the children how they can live their lives, where the children will look up to their parents as an example that they can emulate over time. But if that's not the case here, then I don't see a reason to stay in that relationship and endure such pain, such barbaric torture from an individual that you once thought is somebody that you loved. Another reason, let me give this as the final reason, is because of what your friends will say out there. The social stigma that's going to be out there, outsiders saying, oh, wow, this woman cannot be in a relationship, this, that, and the other. That's just very foolish, because you all who make those comments out there don't know exactly. You don't wear the shoe. There's this general saying that if you do not wear the shoe of any person, you don't know how the pinky toe hurts when that shoe is on. So you have no reason out there to make such comments that wind up causing these victims to remain victimized in such a barbaric environment that they have endured over time. And these are some of the reasons that make some of them stay in such relationships and continue to endure such pain. It's totally unnecessary, uncalled for, and cannot be acceptable in our communities.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
My phone line is open in case you have questions for Dr. Emilet. The number is 240-603-7367. 240-603-7367. Here is what Rosemary Wanga says, another talk show queen in social media. How does it help to stay in abuse when you are just raising the next generation of abusers? Now, the question I'm going to ask you is there the possibility that a child who grew up in an abusive home turns out or grows to be an abuser in future?
I will accept and or underscore that particular point at the highest degree that you can think of, Mr. Chamakon. I even believe that anybody who is an abuser came from or hailed from an abusive family, because that's all you see. If you grew up seeing your mother and father fighting all the time, tell me why you will not be feisty. Tell me why you will not be that individual that anything that comes next to you, you will decide to exercise the same kind of attributes and or things that your parents, you saw from your parents. They brought you to this earth, and everything that they do, most often or not, we pick up from them because those are the closest people that we live with. We will be able to grab everything that they're doing. Hence, if you are in an abusive relationship, I will without doubt say that 95% of the time is because you came up from a background that was abusive. And that's why you decide to feel like, oh, that's the best route out. Because if you are on parents, again, like I emphasize, these are the people that you look up to before you even look up to your friends that are out there or anybody else that is outside of your own immediate home. Those two people, I believe they are the ones that you need to look up to. So that's the only thing that I can tell you. And I agree with that with Rosemary, that such people will grow up being the next generation. They will tend to replicate what they saw growing up with their parents.
You are watching Family Matters on Chat Night Africa. I want to ask you this, but before I ask the question, before I put the question across, I remember when I first fell in love. It feels like you're on cloud nine.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like that man, that woman. You are at some point you worry that your heart could beat itself out of your chest and fall off. Come rain or shine, you are going to see her. You are going to see him. So the question I'll be asking you is, what turns somebody into an abuser? What leads to that path? Let's talk about men abusing women first.
Well, I will speak from the stance of a woman because I don't know what goes on in the man's mind. What makes them become abusers? The first thing that I would tell you is because they do have this narcissistic attitude. They want to be in control of everything. And if they have any iota of doubt, any iota of impediment that will hinder their control over the woman, I will tell you that they will become abusive irrespective. Some of them just have a tendency because of their braggadocious attitude. Let me use some of these words. They just feel like, well, no woman is up to nothing to tell them anything, let alone to be able to be a part of them. Some of them shy away from even identifying themselves with this woman. And I'm wondering, why did you even get into a relationship with them? When you start realizing that a man is behaving in such a way, outrightly, totally very controlling, such attitude, or somebody who feels like nobody else surpasses them in any way, shape, or form. Like in the case of my niece here, this man has a tendency to blow it out there that I am a traditionalist. And as a traditionalist, nobody can do me anything. With such braggadocious attitude, tell me how you feel like this man is not going to come home and pound on you because he feels like nobody can do him anything. And he goes at length to support the fact that nobody can do anything by buying all those even officials that are out there to protect you and I. All the police officers, all the gendarmes and all whatnot within their close environment are his friends. On that note, he has all the right to go up and say anything he wants to say to my niece, and my niece will just sit quiet. And gaslighting is another one. You just make that person feel like they're relatively nobody on earth. They are worthless primarily, or they cannot survive without them. Without me, you are nobody. Without me, you cannot find another man. I mean, those are some of the things that make some of the men, again, I'm saying women also do the same, but majority of the men just feel like they are indispensable in a lot of this women's lives. And that's what causes them to take their hands and touch them. You and I cannot even believe what could have triggered all of that. Most often, it usually happens when there is another person out there that is seeking their attention and or is instigating that, hey, go ahead and cause these problems with your wife. It's just an idiotic individual who will decide to listen to an outsider that is quote unquote your deuxième bureau, they call it in Cameroon, who will influence you to an extent where you carry that into your own relationship. The thing there is when such attitudes begin to prop up in life, then we know that it's about time to call it quits one way or the other. But unfortunately, they will stay right in there and endure that pain again because of the 5 reasons that I mentioned earlier, which will cause them to stay there without stepping out and or speaking out loud about such violence they are enduring.
Dr. Emelet, those questions or those reasons you stated seem to apply a lot to uneducated women. How do you explain the fact that you see even sometimes university professors staying silently in abusive marriage? I mean, it cannot be financial comfort because they're making money, they're making their own money. So what would be happening in a situation like that?
That really sits well, Mr. Chamakon here. Thank you again. With this particular case, my niece is not and illiterate. She's well educated, she's a teacher, and that question again, I don't even know what to say because that's what I ask her. You are a literate individual who speaks well, and you are a teacher of other students. If your students realize that you're enduring such pain, you walk into class with a black eye, you walk into class, you're limping, you walk into class, you can't even speak because they've dislocated your jawbones, what are you going to tell them? Again, like I said earlier, those reasons are totally very flimsy. And people who endure such pain, who go through such domestic violence issues, are not people who are illiterate, not at all. As a matter of fact, those who are more literate are the ones who allow themselves to be battered the way this men really carried out. Again, the fact that they have a position, they are well placed, they have their own money, of course, that's automatically intimidating to the other party. That's very, very commonplace. Mark you, we're talking about physical abuse here. The fact that these women have been able to reach a position where they can stand for themselves, they can do for themselves, it automatically suppresses the man one way or the other. How do you now come home to say, I'm the breadwinner or an equal breadwinner in the house, and you want to say one thing or the other to me? Most often, the woman is going to lash right back. But then when the beatings come up, guess what? They are afraid to step up, step out, and even make whatever their message is known out there, be it via broadcast or any way, shape, or form. Again, because they are ashamed and or afraid that if they do that, what will happen to them? Public and social media is out there now. Anybody says whatever they want to say. A lot of people are afraid of what image is portrayed out there. I'll tell you that's the norm these days. That's traditionally the norm. There is relatively no way that you will stay there because you are afraid that social media is going to say this, that, and the other, risking your own life other than taking a gigantic step to step away or make it known so that such behaviors will be shunned against and stopped if possible. So
this is what,
it's not just illiterates or people who are uneducated.
This is what Fairvan says. The women are afraid to start all over, so they stay. Is that part of the problem?
Well, I guess it is because to some, that's why I'm saying I guess it is because somebody like myself, your humble speaker here, I'm not afraid to start all over, not at all. So if you're confident in yourself, that's one thing, Mr. Chamacon. A lot of the women are not confident in whoever they are. And if you are not confident and or comfortable in your own internal person, your own person, you will never be able to step up and step out. Some people just feel that, well, you know what? Wow, because of the proportion of men to women, a couple of years ago, statistically, was at least 1 woman to 3 men. They feel like, must you be with a man or you must be with a man? Something to that effect. And for that reason, they're afraid like, well, if I do step away, some other person is going to pick him up and accept his beatings. That's not what we should encourage. And starting all over is probably for a better future. All right. Because if a situation is one that God actually blesses, it's going to last. If God remove his hands off that particular entanglement you're in, and I'll call it an entanglement, it's because God himself realized that somebody's going to be dying. And guess who's going to die? You, who is of the weaker link. So it's better you step away and you will find somebody that is meant for you. And if not, must you be with somebody? Not at all. Some of us have been there a couple of years without, and so what? We're still living and surviving. So starting over should not be a problem.
Here is what Nkwan Jacob says. In some cultures, beating is a sign of love. What's your take on that, Dr. Emilet?
Mr. Nkwan Jacob, no, not in my culture. I mean, if you love someone, why should you be beating on that person? I don't believe in that, but you're quite right. When I did my research, I realized that there are certain cultures that really beating the woman really means that you really love the person. But I don't know what kind of beating it is and how much the woman can endure. I don't believe that beating them, pounding on their eyes, using this woman as a punch bag in a wrestling match is the way that you need to do the beating. I guess that kind of beating is that beating that you do in the bedroom on your own beds. I would agree with that, but not something that if the woman steps outside, people will look at you like an individual who is just there to kill someone. I don't think that that's the case. And if it is true, those cultures should be banned from existence
Here
because
is
women
what
cannot endure such pain.
Rosemary Wanga says: it's better to start all over and be safe and be safe than stay alive than lose your identity in marriage. My phone line is open. You can dial the number 240-603-7367. This is In Your Bedroom, Chat Night Africa.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
It looks like I have somebody on the line. Let me see if I can take the call. Let me see here. Rosemary Wanga is on the line right now. Hello, Rosemary Wanga. Hello, Rosemary Wanga. Okay, let's see. Hello, Rosemary Wanga.
Hello, good evening. Great. Oh my God, this is such a great program. I wish I knew you had this program earlier. We should have advertised and bring more people in, but I've tried to share, and these people can watch it on replay later or they come in. This is just amazing. I just want to thank your guest and Rita and thank her for bringing out a story that is particularly relate to her and her family. It says a lot, and this is why we talk, because this really helps out when people bring their faces and their names and put it on stories like this, so people understand why we have to continue talking about issues like this. First, can you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes, first I want to say thank you so much for bringing this particular topic. It's very important that we keep talking about this because abuse is real, mental health is real. There are a lot of women going through this, even men too, who are going through this, you know. But the one thing that I want to specify is that there's nowhere in the 10 Commandments where it's stated that you must be married to be recognized. Marriage is not a qualification. It is not your identity. What makes you you is what you bring on the table. Please, women, we have come so far and we have fought so much to be heard. And the most important thing is what you bring on the table, your education and how you treat people, how compassionate you are. A man does not define who you are. You don't have to be with a man to be given a seat on the table. You can build your own self, build your own name. Marriage is a good thing if you meet the right partner, but it is not a do or die. It is not a must. And like I said again, it is there's no way in the 10 Commandments, the law of the law of the land or the world. God did not put this there, but I know for sure that the most important one of the commandments is that you must respect your father and mother, so your days on earth should be long. So in that sense, God knew that there were children who were going to be born without fathers or mothers, or something was going to happen where children were going to be brought into this world without a dad or a mother living in the same house. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's better to raise children in a home where there's love and peace, while you people are separated. There's nothing wrong with that. Because I've seen a lot of relationship, people who could not be together as a couple and had better relationship than when they were together. And it's better to raise those children raise those children in separate homes, love one another, respect one another. Divorcing or separating from one another does not mean you're divorcing or separating from your children. You both can still love your children and raise them in a healthy environment while being separated. There's just some people who cannot live together. We have to realize that in our relationships, accept it, and move on so we can live a better, productive life. And most importantly, when there are children involved, make sure we put them first. I heard what she said, that her sister or her niece wanted to have, talking about having children with one man, and that is what is killing a lot of us in the third world developing countries, because that mindset that you have to have your children with one man. What does it really matter? Isn't it about your well-being, your health, your mental state, self-respect for yourself and respect for your children? What good does it do you when those children are in there seeing you being beaten, being abused, being disrespected, arguing, breaking stuff, disrespecting you, disrespecting everybody around you, including your children? I mean, the pain. And we see how a lot of children now, most of those children, you see them come up, growing up, and getting being depressed. This causes depression in children because they cannot talk. They don't know how to solve these adult issues that is lingering all around them. The pain, the fight, the arguments, and our children are the ones that are really suffering. We have lived our life. What we want for our children is for them to live their own best lives. And by staying in an abusive relationship, we are depriving our children of living their own best lives and taking away from them to just be children, go lucky, happy, play games, come back, go to school, without worrying about us, not worrying that if they're going to find mommy or daddy awake in the morning when they wake up. Please, parents, this is really, really serious. Let's pay attention. Put our children first. We made that choice to bring them into this world. We are not doing them justice if we keep them in harm's way, keep them to see all these abusive tendencies around us. Marriage is not do or die. If it doesn't work out, please move on. Move on and save yourself and save your children. It's better to be alive than end up in a body bag or in a mental state or with full of depression because you wanted to belong or because you wanted to have a title.
Or because you want to be Mrs. Somebody.
Mrs. Somebody, and Mrs. does not make you who you are. Who you are is what have you contributed in the community? What have you done for yourself? What have you done for your neighbors? Who are you? It's your identity. A marriage is not your identity. Your tombstone does not matter whether you were Mrs. or Miss. Your legacy is about what did you do while you were here, not whether you were married or not when you were here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Rosemary Wanga.
Thank you very much.
And my phone line is open. You are watching Family Matters on Chat Night Africa. My guest is Dr. Emelette. That's how she's popularly known. You can call her Dr. Emelette, Emelda Ntinglet. Forgive me, I'm going to ask you this question, Dr. Emelette. In what ways have you heard men are also abused? Because I've watched videos where a woman is throwing out a man, throwing out the bags out of the house. So I don't want this to sound like only men abuse women. So what have you heard are ways that some women also abuse men?
Well, Mr. Chamkong, thanks for asking that question, but I will jump right in and maybe at you. I'm not sure what videos you watched. If you watch a video that a woman is throwing a man's thing outside, let me correct you right here. I believe most of those videos are because the man did something, either cheated on the woman or did something wrong that the woman started or decided to throw the man's things outside. I've watched quite a good number of those videos. Or the man, the most common one that I've seen lately is the man's girlfriend called, or the man inadvertently told Siri to call his girlfriend. Meanwhile, he's in his girlfriend's house, meaning he's in a relationship. And guess what? When that happens, and Siri called, asked the question, which one of them? And on that note, that the supposed girlfriend in whose house this man is decided to throw the guy's things out. But nonetheless, let me get away from that because, again, I just want to correct it. A woman does not just get up and start throwing a man's things outside. They do that because, first of all, a lot of these men, they go in and decide to live with the woman. And if you do that, automatically, you ought to be that individual who is taking care of the woman and not vice versa. On that note, the woman now has control over you to an extent. Why? Because you're just there, just living off of the woman. And that's not how life is supposed to be. You guys need to work together and move into your own thing so that no one person has full rights over the other, except it's in a situation where authorities came and sent one person out because they decided to threaten that they will kill the other individual. And when that happens, the authorities will step in to take charge. But let me get back to This is a very sensitive issue, and I can talk on it even more because I'm a victim of such situations. But I would like to make it known that men also get battered by women. One way or the other, it may not be physical because women are very weak. You cannot throw such punches that the man will do, but you can and batter the man emotionally, or you can decide to refuse sex from that man. If that's the case, that's an abuse as well, because in that relationship, especially in a husband and wife relationship, when you decide to deprive them of certain things that they ought to have, you are abusive in that case. And another way that women abuse men, there are some women out there who are like butches, okay? I mean, there are some women out there. And hence, if they handle some of these men, they will go ahead and get them well lashed. Sometimes I will say that they deserve it, because the way that they torture us, if the shoe was on the other leg, you will realize that they will come across after us without any remorse, without any empathy, no hesitation. They will trample on you to the extent where you and I cannot handle it if you are a woman. So men do endure such pain equally. And women, it is not a good thing. There is nowhere in the Bible that says any person should beat on the other person, let alone to the extent where you wind up dislocating that person's jawbones or punching on their eyes to the extent where they cannot see. What kind of love is that? I recall somebody there in the audience made mention that certain cultures allow for such love to be expressed by beatings. I don't understand what that is. And like I mentioned earlier, we need to ban such cultures from existence. And besides, not this day and age. We've seen instances where in relationships, the other party dismember the other party because they felt like this person is not doing what is expected. It can happen to either men or women. But most often, based on my research again, the internet is wide open. We can do all kinds of research and write whatever is there. It's incumbent upon you to decipher what message is correct. But I've realized that majority of the tortures that the men do get inflicted on is because they caused it one way or the other. Either they started a fight or they cheated. That's the most common one, according to research that's out there. And that's when these women now gather momentum to the best of their ability, or they even bring their friends in to get the man well trashed or beaten. But again, we need to shy away from using our hands, using any kind of physical abuse on anybody, irrespective of whether it's a man or a woman. It's not acceptable, please.
You are watching Chat Night Africa.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
And my guest this week on Family Matters is Dr. Imelda Ntinglet. She will be right back on the platform. Time for us to have a little musical interlude. You will love what you watch right now. And I'll be right back. Chat Night Africa, Africa's voice to the world. Voices of Africa, health, mind, family matters, all on Chat Night Africa. www.chatnightafrica.net. Chat Night Africa, Africa's flagship online broadcast platform. On the anchor desk, Divine Chamaka. Africa's voice to the world. Voices of Africa. Healthline. Family Matters. All on Chat Night Africa. www.chatnightafrica.net. Chat Night Africa. Africa's flagship online broadcast platform. This is Family Matters on the Anchor Washington DC metropolitan area. My name is Divine Nchamukong. I'm the broadcast anchor. On this platform, we have 3 programs. We have Family Matters, which is what you're watching now. We also have Voices of Africa. And then we have Healthline. We'll be developing more programs because you are at the center of what the decisions that we make. We prefer bread and butter issues, kitchen table issues, and pocket book issues. I want to thank all of those who are watching this show and who will be watching later on. The show is airing on the internet website www.chatnightafrica.net. You can watch it there, so you don't have to be on Facebook to watch our shows. You can watch it on YouTube, Chat Night Africa. You can watch it on LinkedIn. You can watch it on my timeline. You can watch it on our broadcast page on Facebook, followed by thousands and thousands of people across Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, once more, join me in welcoming the firebrand, the drop-dead gorgeous, articulate, fiercely articulate lady, Dr. Emelet, as she is popularly known.
Thank you again, Mr. Chamako.
Dr. Emeldon Tinglet, the question a lot of people ask me to ask you when you come on the show today is this. People don't become abusive overnight. I told you, the first time I fell in love, boy, I couldn't sleep that day. My heart was pim, 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 pim. I just couldn't. It felt like I wouldn't go 30 minutes without seeing that beautiful girl. And it happens with everybody. You're in cloud 9. It's like you're floating in the clouds. It's beautiful. But soon, we begin to hear about all these abuses. Worse still, physical abuse. So the question is, do people just miss these signs? Do people just want to close the deal? You see that woman as beautiful as Emelet in the gym. You see that guy with, six-pack. I know ladies love to talk about six-pack. I have some myself. But
Okay.
So in the gym. So the question is, do people just miss these things because they want to close the deal? That's the question I would like you to address now, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for that question. And whoever asked that question really had a reason to ask. Did people miss the signs? These signs are usually missed when people jump hastily into a relationship. And or they just ignore seeing the signs because these signs are there from the get-go. If you take your time to study the individual, you take your time to get to know the person, of which such people have a tendency to precipitate you accepting and getting into this relationship, because I'm one of those, all right? Whereby the other party will feel like, you know what, time is running out. I got to get married. I had a timeline that before I get to 50, I must be married and all this, that, and the other, and choke you with this thing they call love. And that's the thing. People get into this relationship. I will not even call it love at that time. It's lust at its highest degree, whereby you have relatively no time to even get to know the person. And then guess what? When you wind up entangling yourself with this individual, whoever it is, be it female or male, then you come to the realization of who that person in its own true self actually is. So if you see in most cases, when this battery and or violence props up or it starts, you know that at that time, that person is manifesting its own true self. And the question to you and I, you sit back and ask yourself, where did I go wrong? You went wrong, you know exactly where you went wrong. I'm one of those. If you ask me where did I go wrong, I'll tell you upfront, listening. And then because your heart at that time, you are in a vulnerable position. These people have a tendency to prey on vulnerable individuals and then suffocate them with what quote unquote they call love, to the extent where it paralyzes their thought process in even thinking, in even accepting what others will hint you obliquely about that individual. Because I won't come and sit here to tell you that you who endured such pain, somebody out there did not, pinch you on the side and say, you know what, be careful. No, they did. Guess what? You probably slapped that person in the face, or you threw one thing or the other against that person, or you stopped communicating with that individual. These are all signs that are buried in this whole thing we call love. And because these signs are buried, when you are now in the relationship, you are all alone. Those pain, these people start coming, or whoever the perpetrator is, start inflicting that pain, be it a man or a woman. And again, the problem is just because you did not take the time to study that individual. The problem is because you felt this person just swept you off your feet and you've never been loved before like that. And age does not count in this case. You don't have to be just 20 to be swept off your feet. Oh no, some of us in our 50s, 40s, 60s, somebody will still come and sweep up all our feet. And then we'll sit there, will not even come to the realization that we've missed studying that individual. Or you even attempt, like some of us did or do, we'll get up and say, you know what, we need to date. That whole dating process, that courting time, is the time for you to get to know that individual. But guys, be very careful. I have been advised that there are individuals out there that will be able to hide their true selves, their true persona, until they go through that phase when you guys get to the stage where you tie the knot. My apologies, Mike. I was about to just anyway. You get to that stage where you're about to tie the knot, and you come to realize that that person is not the real person that you met before, but they did everything to push on you to move that relationship to the next level.
I'm going to ask you this.
Vulnerable. You fall prey of such individuals.
I'm going to ask you this question, Dr. Emilet. You fall in love, you're in Maryland, you plural, you're in Maryland, and the person you're in love with is in California. How in the world are you going to know that person? And I know that people are going to tell me, oh, no, it's a bad thing to cohabit with somebody before you get married. But the truth also is that there are people you will never know who they are until you are sharing the same roof with them. Because there are people who are smart at hiding things. They show the nice. I mean, if I'm in Maryland, I'm in love, and I'm in love with a woman in Texas. When she's coming to visit me in Maryland, I'll be on my best character. Believe me, I'm going to show her all the things she wants to see, and vice versa. So, advice. You have a lot of experience. You're a grown-up woman.
Yes.
What would you tell people who are in love? One person in California, and I'm talking about California in terms of the distance between California and Washington, D.C. It can be between here and in Nigeria or in Rwanda. There's this beautiful Rwandese, or this beautiful Yaoundé woman you love so much, or Bamenda woman that you're just crazy about, or the Bayangi or the Bakweri, they're so beautiful. Akum, drop that. That beauty will strike you like lightning. So they're in Cameroon, and you are in the United States. Tell me how you know that kind of person.
Well, Mr. Chamkong, thanks for that question. But you can always do it. In this day and age of research, you cannot jump into a relationship without carrying out your own research, getting to know that individual. It's just a matter of time. You can. What you're even explaining here, what you are putting here is definitely what we get into. That's how most of our relationships are. How about a situation where you are getting into knowing somebody who is not within or from your own country? That even gets more difficult. But let's focus on our own country, because most often people would like to entangle with those that they come on or hail from the same environment. You will have one friend or the other. It's just a matter of time, Mr. Chamkong. The problem there is we hastily get into this relationship, ignoring the red flags. When you ignore such red flags, like you say, whenever you have a chance to meet that individual, you guys, you both are at your best. He doesn't get to know you, you don't even get to know them either. So you need to have the time to court, live with each other, and see how that person presents their own true self. Even though families and religions shun against people living cohabitating before marriage, I am a proponent. I will say that or advocate for you to get into a relationship so you get to know that person. You don't know whether the person snores or doesn't snore or whatever the case may be, or the person is a wife beater or a husband beater, either way. But you can do your research by contacting other people, sending others, paying money for others to find out who that person is. And when you try to inquire about that individual, make sure you listen. Listen to some of those hidden messages that are being sent to you, be it in anonymously or any way, shape, or form. Don't take them lying down, because they are hinting you, granted obliquely, about that person's attributes that you would have not even known about them. So especially those that come in anonymous, because anonymity in this day and age is one way that people send messages. Be very careful how you take those messages too, because some might just be hatred. Some of them are just messages that they're coming forth to make you not get into that relationship, which is maybe your God-sent relationship. And so you have to be very, very careful and put everything in prayers. At the end of the day, pray to God to guide you and make sure that this is the path you're about to take. So there is really no 1, 2, 3 steps that you can take to get to know that individual than you carrying your own personal research. If it means paying someone to go ahead and do a private investigation on that individual, do it. It's for your life. That's your own lifetime relationship. So do what it takes to be able to retain and maintain while having a good relationship with that individual.
This is what Asking for a Friend, that's the name of our platform. You simply can go on YouTube and search Asking for a Friend. She's a terrific communicator, Rosemary Wanga. Here's what she says. I think societal pressures are a great factor. People see the red flags but think they can change their partners with time. I'd like you to comment on that.
Yeah. Asking for a friend, I think I've heard your name before, but I totally agree with you. All of us, when there is something about the other person that you and I don't like, equally on the other side. Okay, so the men also say, you know what, this woman, there is this one attribute about her that I don't like. I will be able to see if we can work it out. They're coming in with the mindset that they can change that person. There's one thing you want to note. If an individual has gone through certain number of years with a particular way of doing things, there is relatively no way you can come in to change. You will work with it if that's something that's bearable, but you cannot. I will put my life on it that you cannot change that individual who has been doing this over time. So you cannot expect to just come in and say, you know what, I'm hoping. It's all hope. But that hope, whenever we come up with hoping for something, it's just a way to give us a subtle understanding that maybe it might happen or not happen. But I agree with her. We always think that we can change anybody. No, we can't. All you have to do is work with what that person has and find ways to see how you guys can compromise and come to that middle ground. But you cannot change anybody.
Dr. Imelda Ntinglet. Dr. Emilet, forgive me, I'm going to ask you a terrible question. How do you respond to people who say that abuse, verbal or physical, is sometimes provoked, especially by the women? In other words, someone along the line failed to de-escalate a potentially volatile situation.
Well, Mr. Chamakong, I knew that question was going to come up. When women or in any relationship that a husband and a wife or, just basic relationships that exist, We see those signs. The problem is the signs that we do see, we don't take them into consideration because we have hope. We are prayerful. We are hoping that this individual is going to change the way they are doing things. When those red flags are pretty much right in front of your face, take them to heart. Take them crucially and see if that's something that you can deal with. If it's not anything that you can deal with, it's good to back out instantly than let it run through its course, of which running through its course at that time might be putting you in your grave deep down. So being able to de-escalate some of these attitudes and or attributes of the perpetrator is a little bit very challenging, no doubt, because remember, at that time they are choking with you with this thing they call love. There are even instances where some of these perpetrators come forth to beat you up. I don't want to call her name, but she came up to me and told me that I have my partner who beats on me very well and then gives me, let's say, a Homer the next day, or gets me well beaten with a black eye and then comes up with those things. And guess what? She winds up being there because of those things. Again, it depends. Are you trying to maintain your relationship with someone who will inflict such pain on you while you get some material stuff that you cannot take that material stuff to represent you in real life or to do the things that you can do? It's a question that we all need to ask. So if you are someone who is in such a relationship, look for those red flags. Be able to identify them from the get-go. Be able to pick them up and see what really is happening. Most often than not, when a woman gets tortured, it's because they did one thing or the other. I'm a woman. Okay, we know very well that we are characterized by our flippancy or about our obnoxiousness. What else can I say? I'm trying to be very honest here, and I'll speak it bluntly as it is because I'm a woman. But you, the woman, in essence, have to be very, very conscious and careful the way you approach someone. Somebody like myself who is very, very playful and might say something that might take another person. So if you got to know the person, if you had the time to understand that person, to know how sensitive that individual is, then your jokes will be limited, whereby you cannot say certain things that will undermine that individual. Hence, what am I saying here? Before you get to the level where you are openly joking with that individual who might not take it lightly, you guys might need to sit down, or you must sit down, you exchange what you know about each other. What is it that takes you off? What makes you happy? What makes you feel bad? So that you don't cross bounds. Granted, there are moments where you might cross bounds because, you probably become so gay in whatever you are doing, and you cross bounds as to whatever that individual told you, you should not cross those bounds. Make sure you feel remorseful about what you did and be able to talk to them about it. Hopefully, you are speaking out genuinely and that person feels the genuineness out of whatever you're saying. I believe that there will not be such barbaric entities that they will not be empathetic and be able to forgive you about what happened. So again, when you realize such signs from the get-go, it's because you guys did not sit down to talk about it, to talk about what will make each individual understand each other better, what will take you off and not take you off. And if you happen to cross bounds and do what that person says you don't do, even though there ought not to be any qualms or boundaries in a relationship, that's what will set them on fire, and you will now experience such violence that we are talking about, be it emotional, psychological, or whatever you want to call it.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
My guest for Chat Night Africa today, now Dr. Emelet Ntinglet, Idili for Washington, D.C. metropolitan area like me, and a bit popularly called Dr. Emelet. Dr. Emelet, we hear all times say, women then they for married house, picking then they in love with boyfriend them, the boyfriend they beat them so bad, sometimes wound them. Woman then they for married house, where marriage supposed to be love, but they beat them. Someone they hide them, they go school with black eye, when the one that teach them, they hide them. Why it be say woman go through this kind of torture and it decide for no come out the married?
Well, my brother, Mr. Chamukong, now you don't ask me for pigeon, I will answer for pigeon. My brother, a lot of this with women, the way that they go through this pain, their first thing that say, wait, they no one lost their married or they no one lost that relationship because of say, like some my sister just talked earlier. People then check say this so for married not title, not be title, not be title. Not everybody go married for this world. Some of them they stay for that married now because of say they believe say, oh, they want walk around to say I be Mrs. This, I be Madam this, I be Mrs. This. That one not be the way where you go decide for keep make some person the beat you for morning, afternoon, and for night, and you shit on for day just because you want to be Madam this, that, and the other. Now, the one primary reason that when me I know say we mommy them, we sister them, where they go through this problem, that they handle them. Now, because of say they want give that name, they want work amongst their friend, they when they not marry, brag say they so where now me this I be Mrs. This, but that one means say wait. It don't mean nothing because you feel start all over. If some man they punish you, they beat you, you come out for that marriage, another person will like you for who you be. But since we all be intimidated with our own self, meaning say we don't like we own self for the first thing. You know, if you don't like yourself, you go decide for say, oh, I go shit on for day. No, if you be confident of who you be, mommy, you go come out for that marriage. Me, they know they beat you because your papa and your mommy they know call burning and say me some man take your hand, they touch you there. If their papa and mommy they be touch you, they know for their life. Why you go allow me some third party make it come they beat you because of say married you and because of say pay dowry for your head? Some of them they beat you so well they never even pay dowry. So I beg that number one reason where you stay for that married house because of say check say oh you want me your friends and call you say be Madam this Mr. Mrs. This. I did tell you say that thing that exists for this day and age. I not gonna lie you, especially with the proportion of women to men the way they exist. Check around how many man picking in day according to compared to the number of women picking the way they did. Impliedly, and this day and age, the picking they no one marry polygamy like papa they be do. Guess what? They want remain them now with one boy or one man. It means say some of them can't go away, they not ever marry. What did that one mean for me and you? No, she don't go marry her because of say you want gain that name. For what? It mean they kill you for inside house. Maybe they go bury you before you know say time don't reach for you for come out. Anyway, my pause on that particular reason. The next reason where most people them, Mr. Chamukong, they stay for this marriage. Now because of picking them. My mommy them, my sister them. One and all allow me this picking matter. Can't take when I head them, put them inside graveyard. It not be appropriate at all. Yes, because you go day for inside house, man, they torture you emotionally, let alone physically. They see bruises them for your skin. They don't punch you for you. They don't do this for you. You decide, my brother, them for the beat your own woman, and when me the woman she don't. I beg una, my sister them. Me now when I think we don't want, I know if Fatom say you go she don't because of picking. For what? They go break the remember. That picking go can't grow, come on, go you go marry, you know. And also that picking it is see as your master they beat you all the time. Guess what? It go feel saying that the right way that for do things. You want she don't Sunday me are picking come on can house can't tell you say, oh, my man don't beat me. No, you don't want them. Because I know so you endure that pain, so you don't go want to see me some other person touch your own picking. So why you want remember me are picking the see as some man they pound on you day in, day out, day in, day out. I don't think saying I think that one exhibit a move picking the see at all. Now, second reason that way woman that she don't for relationship. Another one that's safety because of so you don't feel pay rent, you don't feel handle your own matters and by yourself. My sister, then mama me, at the beguna. At the beguna, kneel down so give God. Please, there is always something out there where if you do them. Come out for day, whether not for braid head, whether not for fry puff sell them, whether not for wake up, even not for make akra. You feel do something. Come on, go be a nanny or cook for some person. Mommy, no shit over there because of say the man they woke up every day. It give you allowance or it give you money for go buy chop. And then you go decide for succumb to all the beatings the way we go through. I beg one. Because no man no merit for losing life for this world because of beatings them from another person. I don't think say any person, even that man where they beat you, you check say one day go like and say me she don't house, me girl picking can enter tell you so man don't touch him. I know go lie you say if that man where they touch you, my sister, then mama me them. If they realize that someone they touch their picking, guess what? They go pound on that person, but you endure them. She don't quiet just because you know if you handle your own matters. Come on, go work. Even a family, they work save my sister them. please go work the farm. This day and age, everybody in an age of technology. Hence, we get a shortage of people the way they work farm, go plant cocoa, plant cassava. I go like say we're gonna go do that in them. I know say with crisis for Cameroon, people they not be exposed for Figo Shidon for village, do those things there. But even for the Douala, the way they or Yaoundé, the way they. The farmland that they go for some person in a place where a land just they talk, so you go cultivate them, plant even cocoa or plantain or whatever. Then you go give them something on the side. That one go help you if you sustain yourself. One thing that lack of the fact say me and you, some of una way una dey endure this pain, una not fit do for yourself, una dey rely on this men them. But mark you, that's not the situation. That's not the case with my niece. My niece is actually the one who is the breadwinner, or rather, sorry, I don't switch. My niece not the one where they take care of this house. Ngando does nothing. If they take him money, never go chop with the girlfriend them, and you watch it on the bed, the name say be Madam Poeti. The man is spending, he comes back home at 1 a.m. all time. All right. Therefore, you also more money where they get them. Ngando they go chop and our girlfriend for outside. You want she done for inside house for gain name say be Madam. For what? Remember, most of these women, Mr. Chamkon, you're here, look like you're the one, you don't ask question where he put me on fire.
I know if we go on and on, but the last question where I go ask you before I then ask for your closing remarks, now say, what woman way it day for a master house? That picking way it they follow some boy. The boy they beat it all time. And I like for you for take note for with children, them way they go follow man picking, the man picking, they beat them. Mm-hmm. That woman way a husband they beat it all time. What do you go advise them for do?
Okay. For America here, granted, I go talk for Pidgin. For America here, we get something where they call and say na hotline for domestic abuse victims them. We get shelters them for America here. For Cameroon and any other African country, when I understand my Pidgin, you that Pekin, you that mommy way that they beat you, I the beg una on my knees them for ground. I beg una, give God, please. Seek for help. Come out for that particular situation. Go for your neighbor house. Go tell you say this. So I beg. Now think this way me I go through. See whether that person go fit help you out. If you vocalize them, if you talk even for social media platform then day to day, you just go there, just go help say this. So hey, this person they say they suffer this and this and this for this person in hand. So you get to take the forefront. You way to be victimized. Come out, go. Reach out for some person. Go for
just
police.
Before you continue, I have somebody on the line who would like to, I think, participate on Family Matters. Hello.
Hello.
Yes, please. You are live on Family Matters on Chat Night Africa. Please shut down any device you are watching the program on now. You have any question?
No, brother. This is not about
Okay, so I think, all right, so go ahead, please. Go ahead, Dr. Tingley.
Thank you. I already talk for Pidgin. My question become to me now in Pidgin again. Waiting where we fit do the people that they be victims and for this beating them. Again, like I talk again, for America, use our hotline. For Cameroon, please go for the nearest police station. Go for even women's group. Always get some mommy when your own person where you feel confiding, where you feel reach out to. And this one are for the victims, them, the people the way that they be beaten. I beg you, go for some that person, tell you, say this was something that happened. Police stations and they are on a rescue way. So if they not really do their job, then I don't know what to do. That's for we where would be victimized. Now, for you where you not be the victim, keep your eyes then, be very vigilant. Be observant, be that sister's keeper, okay, or be that brother's keeper. Let me add that to it. So me they know say I not discriminate against sex, because men they too they be beaten. If you be a friend of any person, observe your environment. Check on that your sister once in a while. Find out what did happen with that individual. If you realize that out of a sudden that person, the behavior, it changed from the normal way they behave. For instance, it decide now for the absent school, absent meetings, when they talk, in the talk, somebody will be very, very jovial and vocal. It decide now for shy away from not talking. Now signs and symbols them that say this, so that person they go through some kind of torture. And if that's the case, I beg una, my own brothers and sisters, the way you not be a victim. If you observe such attributes or characteristics where they be exhibited by some person, I beg you, sit down, probe them, ask ask them, question them, say, my sister, now what did it happen? These days when you don't the absent meeting, Jangi, you need to come now. What did it happen? Wait, you don't come now, you get bruises there for your face. Now wait. Most often they go tell you say they be follow. But me follow through. Ask them again one more time. Say, you sure say na fall, you fall. 1, 2, 3 times I don't see this particular bruise for you. Now what did it happen? You sure say you need to get some fighting for house. Then you, where you not be that victim, I be sorry for put work for on her head. Come on, even go ask that your friend, a husband, no. Say, Papa, as we did like this, so you're a woman, it talks say the fall every time. So, Papa, now how? That one, it go create awareness for that man. Make it know say this. So, oops, somebody don't realize say it beat that woman. Please. Now, this kind of thing they do what we get for do for rescue we own sister them. The same way we be we own sister a keeper. That's one way where you and I be. While you will be victimized, go seek for help for family members, friends, police officers, some elderly mommy where they around like your own mommy.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Tinglet. I wanted you to clear that in no uncertain terms so that people who do not understand this big grammar can at least understand what we call the broken English. I have, here is Dr. Elo. Dr. Elo is the person who designed this platform. If anybody watching this show, if you want him to design your platform looking this beautiful, I'll hook you up. Thank you, Dr. Elo, for watching this broadcast. Dr. Ntinglet, I will be bringing you in a moment for your closing remarks. We'll keep this, we're going to be having, we'll be having a part 2 of this broadcast, but I can tell you we haven't exhausted the material we prepared for you this evening. So before I bring back Dr. Emilet on the platform, thank you, Rosemary Wanga, for your comments. Thank you so much. At some point, I'm going to bring you on the platform to also do the show with me, this topic with me. Thank you, Rosemary Wanga. You can find her on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and search Asking for a Friend. You will have formidable contents there. This broadcast is going to end very shortly, but you can go on our broadcast website, www.chatnightafrica.net. You'll find it there. It's going on there live now. It's on YouTube for anybody who wants to share it or watch it, not on Facebook. Tell your friends and relatives. We decided to do this content so that we could save somebody's life. And if at the end of this program, we just save one person's life, that one life is too many lives saved. Be an ambassador or be ambassadors for this platform, Chat Night Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to bring back our guest, Dr. Emilet, for her closing remarks.
We love Chat Night Africa. Keep watching Chat Night Africa.
And here is Dr. Emilet. You are closing. What would you like people to remember about your appearance here today on Family Matters? You have 2 minutes for that.
Thank you, Mr. Chamakong, and thank you for having me here. The key takeaways from this particular show is for those who are victimized. If you are a victim of domestic violence, be it psychological, physical, emotional, please note that your life is far better than you losing your life for any such tortures. And know that you are loved, be it by your family and others who are just out there, advocates like myself. Your life is far better off. One thing you want to note is that there are helplines. If you are a victim of domestic violence, please reach out, call, or contact any of the domestic violence hotlines and or shelters out there. Seek refuge. Go and stay there and protect yourself. You can go also to a family member, call upon a friend, reach out to our public entities that are out there, the police, the gendarmes, and or any other group out there that is out to protect us and protect our lives. And this is for you, those who are victimized. And now, for those who are not victims, In an effort to continue to foster be our sister or brother's keeper, I am begging on you, please be very, 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 very conscious. These are for the non-victims, okay? Be vigilant, be conscious of your environment. Always try to understand whoever is around you. Check on them. If you realize that there are certain characteristics or they are manifesting certain symptoms or attributes, things that they weren't doing in the past, that's a telltale sign that signaling you something is going on wrong. And it's incumbent upon you to do your due diligence as a human being that God created, to look even further by asking probing questions to this individual. Is everything okay? How are things going in the house? Why is it that you are not who you are before? Why are you not as jovial as you are? Is anything happening? And if such things do happen, please, if you are that non-victim who cares for that individual, go out and make it public. But please seek consent from that individual if you have the ability to. If not, just go live and broadcast it like we're doing. My case, I sought for permission, but it's because the situation could have been handled differently. So I'm appealing to everyone that's out there. Be conscious of your environment. Be that sister's keeper. Identify situations where somebody is being battered, somebody is being treated in a barbaric way that is unexpected. Anything that you cannot fathom being an expected way of doing things in normal life, know that it's against biblical preaching. Go forth and make that known so that that person, that particular individual is rescued. That person's life can be sustained a little bit further. And then you seek counseling if you are a victim. Because again, gaslighting is one thing that will drop you down to a level where you believe that it's not even you. You will be doubting who you really are. Go for counseling. In the US, we do have counseling services that some of them are free, maybe in other Western world, but in Cameroon and other, I'm calling Cameroon because that's where I'm from, and other African countries, look for some of those organizations, some women organizations that you can go and seek for rescue and or refuge, and then talk about it. One thing about some of these experiences is that people hide it. They don't talk about it. Please, sometimes when you air it out, then your chest is not going to be loaded with a lot of information that can even run you mad. You free yourself like I am. Totally nothing bothers me because I speak it as it is. And there is this generous thing. If your stomach, it does not store anything, then you must always say it out so that people can hear you and rescue you if the situation arises. So the key takeaway here is know who you are, stand tall, and be that person that you primarily like your own self in an effort to protect those who are around you and not forgetting yourself.
Brilliant. I needed to put my eyeglasses on to say brilliant. It's been so beautiful. And I want to thank all the people who've been watching this broadcast, people who are going to watch later on YouTube, on the internet, on our website. It's everywhere, LinkedIn, we everywhere, all over the internet. I also want to thank Mr. Roger Full, who is my social media platforms manager and producer. He's in Lagos now. It's so late there in Africa, but he stayed up to make sure this content got transmitted to the nooks and crannies of the planet. I want to also thank Mr. Mumbalingwa, our transmission supervisor, who makes sure that everything runs smoothly. It's many, many hands that are tying this beautiful bundle you see this week we call Family Matters. My guest today has been the articulate, drop-dead gorgeous, vibrant, firebrand. I could go on and on with adjectives. You realized her, you found that yourselves this evening. Dr. Imelda Tinglet, popularly known in the Washington, D.C. metropolitan area and elsewhere around the planet as Dr. Emilet. I want to thank you for finding time to come on this broadcast to speak to our brothers and sisters.
Mr. Chamakon, thank you for having me.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you do not like the marriage you are in, you are not a tree. Only trees don't move. Do not hurt somebody's daughter. Because I tell you what, I have very, very beautiful daughters. If you married my daughter and hurt her, prayer, God, that the police shows up before I show up. Because if I show up first, it can get really nasty. I wouldn't bother going to jail for defending my daughter. That's my first duty as a parent. Thank you all for watching. I will be back again for yet another vivacious edition on Chat Night Africa. Bye for now. I'm Divine Chamuko.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. I'm coming to get down. I'm coming to dance, We're gonna dance, we're gonna get down, we're gonna party hardy, we're gonna boogie woogie, and when we jam, it's out of sight. This song right here, it's dynamite. I'm ready, I'm coming back.